Hello the internet, welcome back to what I think is going to be the first video of my second channel. Now, I'm not sure I need a second channel, I'm not sure I have time and bandwidth for a second channel, but I think I want to give it a go because I've seen some other YouTubers having one, and it's not that I want to follow them, it's just it feels like a good idea because sometimes I have like minor projects which probably are not going to be too interesting, and I don't want to make a main channel video of these projects, especially because it takes quite a lot of time to come up with a nice and polished video, at least from my point of view. And like these NAS, for example, has been sitting under my desk for quite some time, waiting for the right time to make like a quick video where I'm setting it up, and it never happens. Mostly because I don't think it's going to be anything super interesting, and it might end up being too long. So I just decided I want to try, and the purpose of the second channel is, again, minor videos with not too much editing, so something that I just join together, edit together, splice together, and that's it. You know, a few hours work and it's done. And if the video is going to be a bit longer than usual, be it. If you like it, fine. If you don't, well, it's fine. There's the other channel for the more interesting videos. That being said, this might turn up to be a repair video, so I might want to move it to the first channel, to the main channel at some point. I don't know. I'm just going to try without thinking too much because I tend to overthink things. And we have an HP Proliant Microserver on the bench. I think it's a N40L Microserver. It's pretty popular because I think it has been, and it is still now, very cheap for what it can offer. And I happen to have a bunch of 2 terabyte hard drives, which are not doing anything, sitting on a shelf. And I thought I could make a NAS out of it. Now, I do have another NAS. It's a Netgear Pro 6. It's pretty old, but I managed to upgrade it to OpenMediaVault, and it's working totally fine. It's just these showed up for sale locally for very, very little. I think it was 20 or 30 pounds. I think it's working, and I just want to configure it and make it an OpenMediaVault working NAS. Now, it's not just a matter of configuring the server. We will open it up, clean everything, replace the thermal paste. I think the owner said he replaced the thermal paste, but you know, I might want to double check things and make sure it's like maxed out, maybe with RAM. I think this is supporting ECC RAM, and I think I happen to have like a bag of of ECC RAM which doesn't work on anything that I'm really using. So why not? It's a server. Why not using the ECC RAM on this one? I think we have 4 slots in here for 4 hard drives, but I have 5, and there is a space for CD-ROM, which I totally don't need. So what I think I'm going to do instead, I'm going to have a frame and I'll add a 5th drive in here. We'll probably, I would like to take a look inside the power supply, you know, service the fans, all these little bits and bobs, and then we'll try and, I think there is a hacked BIOS for this thing. You know, there's a whole community online, there's a whole website, it's amazing. So I'll make sure that this is running like the best possible firmware and everything, and it's clean and it's fully up and running. Then we'll try and install OpenMediaVault on it. The reason is I have OpenMediaVault on another NAS, and I think I'm happy with that. I don't need anything too fancy. This is going to be like for storage purposes only. Now, if you don't know this unit, it's pretty nice. I think it features AMD Turion II 1.5 GHz. You can run up to 4 or maybe 16 gigabytes of RAM. Again, something is documented, something is not. Again, you got 4 slots in here. The nice thing is that this thing has, I think, one it's a PCI Express slot, the other one it's, I think they're both PCI Express. One it's like 1 lane and the other one it's, I don't know how many lanes. Obviously it's like low profile, so not every board will work in there. It's got VGA output, eSATA output, so in theory I can probably plug another hard drive, but that's going to be external. Obviously Ethernet, USB, and that's the power supply. That's one of the reasons I really would like to open it up. It's really small. I think there's a very small fan on the other side. I really want to make sure it's as clean as possible. This has been cleaned by the owner, but not in a massive way. So I think I just want to disassemble everything, service the fan, service everything, and then we'll start powering it up and make sure it works, make sure it's fully configured, and we'll go on and configure OMV. Now, thankfully, this seems to be coming with all the hardware. I was wondering why there were so many screws here attached on the front panel, but these are for the hard drives, so you're not losing them. And obviously, the frames are made of plastic and they haven't got screws here, so I should have everything I need. So let's begin with powering this thing up, see if it works before I take things up and break things in the process. Let's power it up. Let's see what firmware it's got, what BIOS it's got, and whether it's working or not, and then we'll take everything out and clean everything. Right, let's power this up and see if it works. Power on. This is powered up by itself. Fan is spinning. And do we have a video output? Yes, we do. Perfect. Proliant Microserver. Okay, we got BIOS 041. Let me write this down. And we got 4 GB of RAM. And yes, the BIOS is saying that we have a Turion II N40L dual-core processor, 1.5 GHz, 4 GB of RAM, and again, we got this BIOS 041 from, I'm not sure whether it's the 1st of October or the 10th of January 2013. So the firmware on this NAS is 041, which I believe is the latest official from HP. There is, as I said, a modded version, which allows for faster operations on the hard drive, and I think it still would say 41 as a version, but from my understanding, you should have a couple of extra tabs, like chipset, NPCI, PNP, which are not here. So that means, I believe, that this server needs to be upgraded. That is great. So, I mean, this is working. I'd like to service it first, and then we'll play with the firmware and everything. So let's power it off, take everything out, and clean everything, replace all the thermal paste, that kind of stuff. Service the fans, and then put it back together, and then we'll come back to the step. Alright, the motherboard is out and it's pretty nice. I can understand why this little server is so popular. As you can see, we have a full-size PCI Express. Is that like a smaller size? Is that something special? I'm not sure. All the capacitors have markings on it, so I'm wondering whether this is from the factory or someone recapped the whole thing. And I'm not sure how much you can see that. We have 2 nice modules of 4 GB each, but the system was only reading 4, and I think I know exactly what's going on here. Well, someone seems to have failed to install the modules properly. Now, let me see what I got in terms of ECC RAMs. I think I have 4 GB ECC modules, and maybe we can test it straight away to make sure it works. Well, don't ask me where I got all this RAM, but yes, these are 4 GB each, and it says PC3, so it should be DDR3 like this one, and it should be ECC. If I remember right, this, I think it was coming from a server, and we can test it straight away. I'm curious to see, well, number one, if we can have 8 GB, and number two, if the ECC works. Quick power up on the bench is going to be fine. Let's power up, 3, 2, 1, go. I think it's powering up because I can hear the fan spinning. No, the fan is not spinning. The power supply is running. Something is running. Alright, no. Let's try again with the front panel connected. I'm assuming the board might be beeping, but there's no beeper. So maybe it doesn't like this RAM, which is kind of a shame. Too bad. Well, it's not the end of the world. Let's try with the original RAM, make sure it works first. Okay, let's try again now. Yes, okay. Well, let's see if we're reading 8 GB. That would be a good start. Yes, I stopped for some reasons. Okay, cool. So we have 8 GB of RAM, and somehow it doesn't like my RAM. I'll try maybe again, and then I don't know, I guess that there must be a reason for not liking that one. It's totally fine as long as we have fan missing, yes, of course. As long as we have 8 full gigabytes, that's totally fine. All right, so no ECC for this board, not the end of the world. It's just I happen to have it. So that would have been a nice thing. I think it's for a server configuration, and most importantly, I have like a tray of that RAM. I have no idea how to use it, and well, where to use it, and it would have been nice to use 2 sticks. Fair enough. Right, let's remove the board. Is there another one somewhere? So no, I don't see signs of recapping, so that might be factory, I guess. There's no, yeah, I mean, if it's been done really nicely. I don't think it has been done. So first thing first, I would say let's remove the CPU heatsink, and I'd be tempted to remove the chipset as well. This one, it's easy to remove. This one is not. This is soldered on the board. I hate that design because how do you reapply the right pressure eventually? But, you know, let's begin with the easy one. So let's start with the processor first. Yeah, so that was repasted, I would say, correctly. But anyways, we'll repaste it anyways. I'm not sure what's underneath this one, whether it's I guess it's part of the heatsink. Well, that was repasted as well, so not big deal. And then we got this one, which I really would like not to remove. But if you know me, I'm not the one that says, no, I'll just leave it because I might break it. My motto is if it ain't broken, let's break it. That being said, it looks like this has been removed because I see, yes, I can definitely see signs of reworking here. So maybe I should just leave it. Or maybe that was factory. You know, sometimes you have things which are applied afterwards and they just leave some signs behind. I'm too curious. I'm not here just to play safe. I'm here to experiment. So I'll remove that heatsink and we'll see whether that was already repasted by the previous owner or not. Yay! Well, at least this wasn't repasted, so all this hassle, you know, has some kind of reason. I had to use some low melt solder, obviously, because, you know, you're trying to desolder a heatsink, so all the heat will go on the heatsink itself. But low melt solder works like a treat. So let's clean this stuff here, clean all the paste, replace all the paste, and, well, that's it. That should be it. Now, the only problem with this type of heatsinks is that it doesn't have springs, so you need to be careful and make sure that the heatsink itself is soldered flat. So I'm hoping I'm doing the right thing, because obviously we got three joints here at the back. I'm not sure exactly how I can do that, but I think the board is more or less flat. The heatsink is resting on my mat. Yeah, that should work. And yeah, hopefully I'm not going to make it worse. I'll apply a little bit of pressure while I'm soldering, so hopefully that will act as a kind of a spring. All done. Next step, take out the power supply and the fan, and let's take a look at them. I really like how this computer is put together. It's pretty nicely serviceable. Power supply, taking out the power supply is taking just 1 second. The main reason I'm taking this out is there's a fan in here. I want to make sure it's clean and yeah, just maybe lubricate that fan a bit. Let's take a look, because I'm pretty confident that this hasn't been cleaned. I don't think the previous owner had an air compressor, so I'm expecting quite a lot of dirt inside this thing. This, by the way, it's 150 watts with plus 3.3 and 5 volts, no more than 100 watts. I think the whole unit is only 15 watts or something. Obviously, then you have hard drives. So yeah. It's very low power. I think the AMD Turion was supposed to be a low power one. Someone ate okay while putting this power supply together, I guess. They had a nice lunch. Aha. Yes. It's a bit dirty, but not too much. The fan has definitely seen better days. So capacitors, let me take a look. Capacitors look good. At least there's nothing obviously wrong with this power supply. So I'll just use some compressed air, blow the dust off, and I think I definitely want to. It's gonna take because the fan is not plugged with a connector, so I'll have to. It's all right. There's a cable tie here, so I'll remove the cable tie. Actually, oh wow, what's that? There's some tape. What's this tape for? Is it? Is it just for extra protection so the cable doesn't get squashed? Because it feels like someone has resoldered a different fan. I want to see what's inside this tape. Because it doesn't make sense. Because obviously the fan cannot be easily removed from the PCB, so if someone removed the fan and replaced it with something else, the easiest way would be to just cut the wires and just solder something. Yeah, okay, I'm pretty curious now. The thing is, if the fan has been replaced, has it been replaced with a similar one, quieter one? I made a mistake myself on my other NAS, by the way, that I replaced the existing power supply fan with an Noctua, which was nowhere near as good as the original one in terms of airflow. So I'm wondering whether this fan, let's have a look what's inside here. Has it been replaced? Has it been upgraded? I doubt this is from the factory. I'm just curious to see what's inside. Oh gosh. So not only someone replaced this fan somehow, but they didn't even bother soldering it. They just twisted the cables and used some insulating tape. Look at this. Oh no, please don't. This is horrible. So if I'm pulling this, yeah, it just comes off. Amazing. Right. So my question is this fan, probably they replaced, I have a feeling they replaced this fan because the original one was like, one of those horrible fans. But there's a reason why they make so much noise. Anyways, let me clean it first because this is disgusting. Then I'll power it up with 12 volts and see how much air it produces. Well, this fan is actually not bad. I mean, this is now powered at 12 volts, which is the maximum. I can feel the bearing, or I don't think this is bearing. It's probably the sleeve is a bit, I don't know, probably not in the greatest shape, but it's not bad. No, I cannot remember which way that was installed. I think it was installed this way, which meant it's blowing inside. Kind of. I need to check what the other fan is doing, but anyways, I can only imagine that whoever did this knew what they were doing, which is unlikely, considering they didn't solder the cable, they just twisted it. But I think, honestly, for this is like a 4mm fan, 3 or 4mm fan, I think this is actually doing pretty well. So hopefully that was just a faulty one that was replaced. I don't know. It doesn't feel right. But I'm not sure I can do anything better than just putting it back together and hope that this power supply doesn't implode at some point. Right, let's give this power supply a quick test just to make sure that it works. I'm not even sure whether the fan is going to work all the time, but power on and power on here. Yeah, fan is working, hard drive is spinning. And yeah, let me turn on this hard drive. It's too noisy. Yeah, I would say the fan is not spinning at full power. I see there is like a temperature sensor there on the heatsink, so I'm assuming the fan is like variable speed, which is one of the reasons why I basically cooked my Netgear power supply. I replaced the existing fan, which was a bit noisy, with the Noctua, but the Noctua had nowhere near the airflow that the other one had, particularly because the original one was being run at like 6 volts instead of like 12 for noise issues. So the Noctua might have been okay at full power. Actually, I think it is, because I think it's in the NAS right now. It's fine at 12 volts, but not at 6. And at some point, I opened the power supply after a few years, and all the capacitor had exploded. So I don't really know whether this fan is the original one. I doubt it. I have this one. Will it be okay? It's a low power system, but this power supplies can still generate quite a lot of heat. There's not many ventilation holes. Will it be okay? We'll see what happens. Yeah, but it is very quiet. I'd imagine this was replaced because the original one was one of those horribly noisy one, but with a much higher airflow. Cool. Anyway, power supply is fun. Let's take out the fan and let's see, if we can clean it and lubricate it as well. The big one, the big fan. The main fan is actually good quality. It's got ball bearing inside, so I would say it doesn't really need lubrication. I think it doesn't hurt a drop of oil, but this is a proper fan. Final step before reassembling everything is just use my air compressor and just blow the dust off this case. Server is back in one piece. Let's turn it on first, make sure everything works, and then we'll update the BIOS. So power on now, blue light here, and we do have an output. Perfect. Okay. Do we see 8 gigabytes? I hope so. Yes, perfect. It's counting up to 8. So the RAM is good. Everything is good. The fan is spinning, and that's great. This power supply. Yeah, I mean, I can feel some air coming out, so I guess that's good. Well, happy days. So next step would be to find the hacked BIOS and install it. And one thing I've just noticed is that the motherboard has a USB port on the motherboard itself, and that's great. So I can install ONV on an internal USB. So I've got plenty of ports, but you always end up with a USB stick coming out of the unit, which could be dangerous. It could be broken or something. So it's actually absolutely fantastic that there is a USB port on the motherboard inside the unit. So everything is self-contained. Right, so I found all the information on this website from Nathaniel Perez. He basically put together all the information that is scattered around on the internet. So thank you very much, Nathaniel, for that. I've downloaded this file and everything is now here. All I need to do is install this software, which is a HP Soft Pack. It basically installs the actual update, the official update for the very same BIOS that we have on the server. It's installing into this weird C folder, so let's remember that because we have to go back there in a second. Then it wants to open a website, which we don't care. And now if I navigate back to the folder, I find a folder here, and inside this one I have a folder called USB Key, which is the software to create the bootable USB stick to update the server. So I'm going to run HPQ USB. And I have a USB stick already in my laptop, so it's been recognized. So this is going to be overwritten, so be careful about that. Start, all the data is going to be deleted, of course. Device media is write protected. No, it's not. Why is that? Right, let me try again. I just reformatted and repartitioned the stick. Let's try this again. Yes. It doesn't like it. I have a feeling it could be this is a very old software that this doesn't like it for whatever reason. Well, it looks like the software has a problem with any USB sticks I'm trying. It does manage to remove the formatting or the partition, because obviously there was something on that USB stick, and now it's a raw partition. So something is wrong. I found this page online that suggests the same error, but it's mentioning about using a MacBook Pro disk utility to delete the partition and reformat this as FAT. I can try and reformat this as FAT. I don't understand what could change, but let's try with FAT and see if by any chance that works. No. I guess I might want to try and find a smaller one. Go 1 GB stick, I can't find anything smaller than that. See if it works. No. But it managed to change the partition here. So let's try and delete the volume and see if anything changes. And let's, let repartition from the tool itself. Oh, yes. Okay. So maybe just needed the partition to be removed, but anyways. Blah, blah, blah. I guess it's done. Okay, perfect. Well, it worked. That's great. At this point, all I need to do is to get this file, which is the modded file, and just replace it on the one on the USB stick, like this. Replace it. There you go. Eject the USB stick. Shouldn't be necessary anymore with Windows 11, but I'm ejecting it anyways. And now it's just a matter of powering on the server with the USB stick plugged in. And we'll see what happens. USB stick is in at the back. Let's power up and we should see something. And yes, the USB stick is booting. It's Caldera DR-DOS. Loading ROM, erasing, programming. Oh, it's done. It did say less than a minute. I wasn't expecting it would be so quick. And I guess now it's just a matter of power cycling the thing and getting into the BIOS and make sure that we have those two extra tabs that confirms that this is the modded BIOS. So let's power off and power back up on, and we'll get into the BIOS. We still have a picture, which is good. You never know when upgrading BIOS. So the version is still going to be 041. That's not changing, which is kind of a shame. It would be nice to have like 041B, modded, M, something, different date. But I don't know how easy it is to modify those BIOS images. So. Oh, there it is. Yes, we got PCI, PNP, and a chipset. Great. So we actually have upgraded the BIOS to that version. Perfect. Look at that. We have a few things here. I don't think there's anything to be done. I think this mod allows for the SATA 3 to work. So in theory, the hard drives are going to be faster. Are these SATA 3? I hope so. Well, it doesn't say, I'll have to check. But anyways, I mean, it's the nice thing to have. And I don't think there will be any more updates available on this server. So that's great. We've done this. The next step would be to fit those hard drives. I'll have to fit them on the CADIS. And also, I have this adapter here, which should fit in here, yes, for the 5th hard drive. I don't need an SSD into the server. I'm not planning to do anything special with the server. It's going to be storage, like remote storage. So I'd rather have an extra drive than an SSD for the operating system. The operating system will be on a USB stick. And from my experience, I have a server, another server somewhere else. It's going to be totally fine. Let me fit the hard drive. We'll power up and we'll start installing OMV. I am so impressed that the server comes with the hardware to basically attach, well, it was supposed to be a DVD or a CD, but in this case it's going to be a caddy or an adapter. And it doesn't need any extra hardware, it just slides in, it locks in place. It's just amazing, I love this thing. This is like, I understand why this is so popular. This is so well engineered. It's literally like HP quality at a reasonable price. So I've got the hard drive in, let me wire this up, and then I guess we can power up. Right, okay, I hit a little stop in here, and I believe that someone might have replaced the power supply with a different one. Because I can see that these are the power connectors, the Molex, coming from the backplane. And obviously you've got 4 hard drives, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 Molex. But the power supply only has 1 Molex output. So there is one splitter here. Actually, it goes into 3, so from 1... it goes into 3, and the 4th one is disconnected. Now, I thought, well, maybe there was another splitter, and somehow it was removed or whatever. So I had a look at the manual. Again, this is a server, so the manual has all the procedures and all the pictures to how to disassemble everything. And the manual shows a power supply with 4, or maybe 5, no, 4 Molex outputs. And it makes sense. I wouldn't expect, even though this is low power, I wouldn't expect to see on an HP server something like this. So that seems to be not from the factory. That being said, this is what I got, and I happen to find one of these at home. So I don't like it, but I'll have to have a splitter into a splitter. It's a hard drive. Should be okay. It's not great, but I really haven't got, I mean, besides buying a splitter with 4 outputs to make it a bit more elegant, I don't really know what to do. So, yeah, that's... And again, that power supply with the fan connected with tape was already a bit suspicious, but at least I should have everything to make this work. Right, I would say let's power up and make sure that the system can see the 5 hard drives, and then we'll move from there. Too fast. That was too fast. Right, I think this is working. We got the SATA port 0123 with the hard drive 200.0 gigabyte. Well, I hope it's a typo. It should be 2 terabytes, not 200 gigabytes. Well, we'll see. At least they're seen as Ultra DMA 6. That's good. Plus, we have a primary slave. I'm assuming primary master. Don't know why it's not primary master, but it says primary slave. But in total, we have 5 disks, which is good. Yeah, should be good to go. I guess I would say the next step is to try and install OMV and see if it can see all the drives. Alright, so for OMV, it's just a matter of getting the installer from the website, which is an ISO file. By the way, version 7 is out, I didn't know. My NAS is still on 6.9, so I guess I can try something here. Oh, something went wrong. Yes, tell me why. Yeah, there is a little downside of running your Windows Documents folder on a network drive. Even in 2024, there's some software, some operations which don't like it, and some software doesn't install because I have my documents on my network drive. It's 2024, you'd expect a network drive to be something normal. I do have another account on all my computers just to install software which will refuse to install just because there is a network drive. I'm not installing on the network drive. Just because the network drive, the documents file, the document folder is on a network drive, the installer would come up with a completely unrelated error message. And when I see those weird error messages, I know it's my documents folder on the network drive. No idea why. Now I'm going to install OMV on this little USB stick only because it's very small, so it fits nicely inside the motherboard. Ideally, you might want to get like a fast one. I think I got like the fastest I could find at a reasonable price for my main NAS. I think I'm going to try this one on that one. I really don't think, you know, the operating system, the OMV is very, very light as the reason why I chose it. And I think this is going to be totally fine. If it's not, this can be cloned on something else and you just swap it, not hot swap it, of course, and it's going to work totally fine. Okay, flash is complete. Now it's just a matter of disconnecting all the hard drives and just leave the USB drive where OMV is going to be installed. Once it's installed on the flash drive, which is going to live on the motherboard, then I can reconnect everything, restart, and at that point I can start setting up the hard drives for a RAID. I'm going to go with the RAID 5. I know it's not the best system, but I'm fine with that. Okay, so it didn't work, it didn't boot from the front panel here, which should be connected, it should work, but yeah, I'm not surprised that it might only boot from the motherboard. So, you know, just plug it at the back. Something happened while I was talking. I guess it went into installation. Yes, maybe, hopefully. Kind of remember from the last time I installed OMV that it's nice to have the network connected to, yeah, there we go. I think that there was something about not having a network at this stage that was a bit of a pain later on. Now the system has detected two different storage units. One obviously is the one I'm using to install OMV. The other one is the empty one, which is my SanDisk Cruiser Blade. So that's where I want to install. Well, the installation seems to have started. It's nice. I'm actually impressed that everything seems to be working fine. Finger crossed. And I guess hopefully we should be able to get to OMV pretty soon. Installation is complete. If you are going to install from a USB stick onto another USB stick, it's going to be on the slow side. Also, this is a slow server, but it worked with no issues whatsoever. It got stuck at some point on something, but I just waited and it just worked by itself. So let's remove the USB stick and the system should boot into OMV. And it worked, fantastic. Now, obviously from VGA, you only get a console output. There's an IP address there, so I know I should be able to access the graphic interface using that IP address, and then we can start setting things up. There's one important thing to do first thing first, and it's to install a plugin which is designed to avoid excessive writing on the USB stick. Otherwise, the USB stick won't last for long. So there is one thing we can do straight away. It totally works. Don't forget that for the first access, there is a default username and password. It's not the one that we set during the installation. That's the root password. It's something else. Right, so OMV is a great software. It's very light, it's free, of course, and sometimes it's a bit like Linux-minded, and I'm not a Linux person. So I got a bit stuck because I couldn't find the flash memory plugin into the plugins list. And I found online some instructions that the OMV Extra plugin needs to be installed, but only with OMV 6. This is OMV 7. And I was looking online, I could find a little bit of not too clear information, but I sent a message on the forum, I got a reply straight away saying, yes, I do need to install that one. So let's do this together. What we need to do, we need to copy and paste this line and paste it into the console. And the easiest way, rather than type it on the keyboard, is to use PuTTY. And with PuTTY, you just log into the server with your root credentials and you just paste it and it should work. Obviously, you need an internet connection. So when I'm in here, if I'm right-clicking, there we go, that's our code. That's it. So in theory now we should be able to have that list. There we go, flash memory 7. So this is important to install straight away. So to reduce the writing and reading from the USB stick. So you select this one, click on install. Yes, we want to install it. And the plugin is installed. The other one that I'd like to install is the, I think it's the software RAID for OMV7, which I understand has been removed as part of the core of the software and is now a plugin. And I'm going to run as a software RAID. So I think it is called OpenMediaVault MD. So I'm going to install this one. I'm intentionally avoiding upgrading the whole thing right now because it's going to take quite some time. It's a USB stick, it's going to be a bit slow. So I'll update later on. Right now, I really would like to see whether the hard drives are all being recognized, maybe set up the RAID, and then I'll just run the upgrade and just walk away and just leave it there for as long as it takes. Ooh. That being said, we got a connection lost here on MD, so I'm not sure. Maybe it just needs a reboot. And then we'll try again. Otherwise, I usually ask on the forums, and someone will tell me what to do. Again, it's if you know Linux, you probably know what to do. I don't know Linux. I know very little of Linux, so this is to me is a bit like, what do I do now? Okay, well, it says installed, so I'm assuming it's working. So let's power off, actually, now. Let's power off, let's plug all the hard drives, and let's start, let's confirm they're all being synced. And then, honestly, it's just a matter of configuring the RAID, and then it's done, and then, you can personalize and continue the way you want it. There we go. Yes, we got 5 disks of 1.8 terabytes, so it's 2 terabytes each. So yeah, it's working totally fine. Amazing. I'm so impressed by this little thing. I can't remember how much I paid it. I think like £20. It's really good. It's really quiet, and in 5 bays, it's absolutely impressive. Well, it looks like the maybe the MD plugin didn't actually install properly, because when I'm clicking on multiple devices, oh no, it's actually working now. Well, anyways, anyways. So let's create a RAID 5 and let's select. Right, somehow the system is not allowing me to select the disks for whatever reason, so I'll have to understand what's happening here. I guess one thing I might want to try is to wipe those disks, because I think they're actually coming from the other NAS. I think it was a backup of my NAS when I moved to OMV, so I might want to wipe them and maybe that would work. Oh gosh. I'm getting all sort of error messages here. There we go. Despite all the error messages, the drives somehow have been wiped, and now they're available for the RAID 5. I got more messages. Right, one reboot later, and this time it seems like OMV is happy to wipe my drives. So let's wipe them all. Yes, we did it. Fantastic. We got a RAID 5, 7 terabytes. Well, it would be 8 terabytes because obviously one disk is for parity, so I can lose one of the disks and I still get my data. So yeah, we got basically 4 usable disks for 8 terabytes. Amazing. And then I guess they will need to resync. This is going to take absolutely forever. But yeah, we made it. Unfortunately, yeah, this is a bit my experience with OMV. It can be a bit glitchy, and I can't complain about it. It's free. It's just sometimes it's not straightforward. I have no experience with TrueNAS or something else, but I understand that for low power systems like this is actually probably the most recommended than anything else. But again, a little bit of struggling, and the forum is always the people on the forum are always happy to help. So anyways, I guess we'll complete everything here, and this is then done. It should be accessible from the network. Obviously there's lots of things to do, but probably not something I'm gonna do on the video. I mean, this is working. As soon as I can transfer data to the NAS, it's done. I left the NAS on overnight and it completed the RAID, which is now clean. Now I need to create a file system, and afterwards we can actually share it and start using it. So on the file system, I will go ahead with the XFS file system. I'm selecting my RAID file software RAID device here, type XFS, save. The software is asking me to set the usage warning threshold. No file system is happy over 80-ish%. So let's leave it like that. And there we go. We have our MD0 XFS and still some configuration pending. And there we go. We got our 7.2 terabytes partition ready. Now I think the first thing I need to make sure that the Samba service is active, because I'm gonna use this with Windows. I think it's done in here under SMB CIFS enabled, and there should be a save button here. There we go. And in theory, I think now I can just create a share and then it should be browsable. So I'm creating this data share on my big MD0 here. Save and save. Then I will deal with extra configuration later on, like users and stuff. You know, for now I just want to make sure it works basically. So it looks like I might need to add the user first and, you know, do things properly. But yeah, I just wanted to give it a quick go. But anyways, let me just add a quick user here. Yes, okay, it is working. Perfect. Right, then I'll sort everything out. Just out of curiosity, let me try and transfer like a big file I have here and then see how fast it goes. Wow, would you look at that? This is on a gigabit network from my desktop computer and it's running more or less at full speed. So yeah, this is impressive. It's slowing down a bit, but I'm totally fine. Again, this is like it's a slow machine and I don't know, it's fine. I'm not even sure about the network between the workshop and the rest, but you know, 70, 80, 90 is totally fine. I can try and tweak it, but it works great. So this is done. Obviously, you know, once you've done this, don't forget to change your main passwords. You know, make sure that your users are safe. Don't leave these things open. I think even if it's on your home network, you don't want to give access to anybody, everybody, just as a good practice. It's never a good idea with Linux or with any operating system for what matters. After that, obviously that needs to be fully updated, so there is a section where you can update everything, and it's under here. You will be prompted for updates available, so you can go ahead and just update everything, and then it should update by itself. Obviously there's plenty of options. OMV, as I said, is not too much user-friendly, but it's very lightweight, and I think it works pretty well. The unit is very quiet. I can see the hard drives are running pretty cool, even though it's kind of coldish in here today. One thing I'd like to see whether this fan can be sped up, because probably this is going to be live here in my workshop, so I don't think heat is going to be a problem. And the fan is pretty quiet. The power supply is also pretty quiet. And it doesn't feel like it's overheating. There's this little metal grill at the back, doesn't feel hot. There's very little airflow, but at the same time it doesn't feel too hot, so that should be fine. I think I paid this £30. The hard drives were free. Amazing. I'm really happy with this. It's really well made. I think I like this more than my Netgear. This is really like HP server quality in a small case. The Netgear is more consumer quality. It's working totally fine. And again, that's also running OMV, as the official software from Netgear started misbehaving, even though it's a very long discontinued unit, so I'm not blaming Netgear, to be fair. But the latest Netgear software, which is OS 6, I think, it's running a very old version of Linux. Even though it's long-term support, it's incredibly old, and it looks like Netgear are kind of dropping interest in NAS. So whether you're using OpenMediaVault or True NAS, or there are a few options available. I understand that OpenMediaVault is great for these older units because it's very lightweight. I have no idea whether other type of software it could be better, maybe more user-friendly, maybe coming up with less enigmatic error messages, I don't know. But I guess this is it for this video. I'm not sure what's going to come out of this, how long it's going to be, how interesting it's going to be, whether I want to keep this second channel for long, I want to use this second channel a lot. I'd appreciate your comments down below, and let me know whether you might be interested in this kind of less interesting side projects. I don't know what I'm gonna do here, so come back in a while and see if there's anything more. Might use it often, less often, because it still takes some time just to shoot this video, just to configure this NAS with or without the camera turned on. It's an entirely different matter. It takes like 10 times the time to make sure I've got everything set up in the camera and the microphone and computer and the capture device and everything. I would have done this in probably in a couple of hours. Instead, it's taken like a whole day, and then obviously I have to edit it, even though I'll try to streamline the editing process without spending too much time on it. It's still gonna take time, so I don't know. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you didn't, I'm sorry for that. Go jump back to the main channel. Hopefully it's gonna be something more interesting. If you have, then happy days, and hopefully there will be more. That's it for today. Have a great day. See you next time. Bye-bye.